Tonight, the war in the Middle East enters its third week and shows no signs of ending. Good evening, I'm Sabra and this is ABC News. As oil prices continue to climb, Australia's food industry warns increased costs will be passed on to consumers. Thousands turn out in Melbourne to honour a young man who was allegedly murdered after stepping in to defend a schoolboy. A remarkable environmental turnaround in the state's northwest. And the Matildas through to the Asian Cup semis after a fighting win against North Korea. The war in the Middle East has ended its third week and shows no signs of a speedy resolution. Supporters of regime change in Iran are now starting to worry that 2 weeks of heavy bombing has backfired. The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked, with the chokehold sending global oil markets into a tailspin. The United States has hit Iran's key oil export hub in the Persian Gulf, with Tehran quickly threatening further retaliation in response. Just hours ago, the US Embassy in Iraq came under attack as the Pentagon scrambles to send more warships to the region. We have correspondents in the US and the Middle East. Bridget Rollerson begins our coverage.
Thousands of pro-Iran demonstrators take to the streets of Tehran, holding mass rallies to mark Al-Quds Day as a massive explosion rocks the capital.
People are not afraid of these attacks. We will not back down in any way.
It's been 2 weeks since this conflict began, and residents pushing for regime change are beginning to lose hope.
The real fear we have is this war might end in a way that leaves the Islamic regime in power.
But the United States remains undeterred.
They've been decimated. Their country's in bad shape. The whole thing is collapsing.
Donald Trump writing on social media that US forces have executed a powerful bombing raid, obliterating every military target in Iran's crown jewel, Karg Island. The small terminal in the northern Gulf handles around 90% of Iran's oil exports. In response, Iran's armed forces have reportedly threatened strikes on facilities owned by oil companies cooperating with the US, as the White House takes aim at the country's new supreme leader, claiming to have wounded Mojtaba Khamenei.
He's scared, he's injured, he's on the run, and he lacks legitimacy. It's a mess.
The death toll for both sides is continuing to rise. US-based human rights agency Harana says at least 4,700 human casualties have been recorded. And the US military has confirmed the deaths of 6 people on board a refuelling aircraft over western Iraq. In Israel, sirens wail as missiles stream across the sky. Iran and Hezbollah launching another joint attack, damaging neighbourhoods in Tel Aviv and Holon while injuring dozens in the village of Zazir. This is the aftermath of an Iranian ballistic missile. It smashed into this house in the middle of the night. A family of 6 were home here at the time, but they were inside the shelter, holding a chest of drawers against the window to protect themselves. Somehow, they all survived.
To count the damage and the houses far away and the windows broken.
Israel is continuing to strike targets in southern Lebanon, where almost 1 million people have now been displaced.
The violent aggression against civilians by the Israeli enemy has forced our people to come to Beirut and to all other regions in Lebanon.
In the face of aggression, Hezbollah is remaining defiant.
We have prepared ourselves for a long confrontation, and God willing, the enemy will be surprised in the battlefield.
A protracted duel ever likely, with thousands more US troops expected to be deployed in coming days.
ABC correspondent Bridget Rollerson joins us from Haifa in northern Israel. Bridget, tanks are building up along the Israel-Lebanon border, not far from where you are. What's the expectation?
Well, there are new reports today that Israel could be launching its biggest ground invasion in Lebanon since 2006. This could lead to a very protracted occupation in the south of the country, where the IDF has been issuing mass evacuation warnings. This comes after we have seen Israeli fighter jets flying at very low altitude across the Lebanese capital of Beirut, dropping thousands of leaflets. In these leaflets, the IDF are urging people in Lebanon to rise up and turn against the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah and demand they disarm. This is about Israel trying to capitalise on the growing divisions we're seeing in Lebanon. There is mounting anger at Hezbollah for dragging the country into this war, particularly because we have seen the death toll in Lebanon now exceed 700 people since the war began.
Thank you, Bridget. The US President continues to claim the United States is winning this war, even as it appears to be spiralling out of his control. ABC correspondent Barbara Miller has this analysis.
It's been 2 weeks of chest-thumping rhetoric about American prowess. Briefings by the Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth sound a little bit like the trailer for an action movie, portraying the mission as crushing, laser-focused, decisive. Media who diverge from that narrative are called out, accused of being unpatriotic. The offensive has undoubtedly caused significant damage to Iran's assets. But contradictory messaging around the timeline and objectives of Operation Epic Fury has conveyed a sense of confusion. There have also been mixed signals around the Strait of Hormuz. You get the sense the administration really wants the key shipping lane to be safe. It's just not. And hanging over all of this is that strike on the Iranian elementary school. Leaks suggest that the US has concluded it was responsible. An admission of American culpability in the deaths of scores of little kids would forever stain the legacy of this action. On the US side, the human toll is now in double figures. And then there's the economic cost, surging gas prices, and estimates the US spent $16 billion in the first week of war. And while the administration claims the new supreme leader is disfigured, if Mojtaba Khamenei, who's been named as his father's successor, is alive and leading Iran, it's hard to see how anyone can sell this as a success.
Crude oil prices continue to climb following the latest attacks in the Middle East. One major food distributor in Australia is warning that if the fuel crisis continues, businesses like his will be forced to start passing on increased cost to consumers.
New West Foods supplies bulk ingredients to around 1,500 WA businesses and service providers, from hospitals and aged care to fast food restaurants.
98% of our produce gets delivered, so running that fleet is critical to us. We have to consider the cost of that delivery.
Damon Vanoutzis has 30 diesel trucks guzzling around 3,000 litres per week. He says if prices keep climbing, his business may be forced to pass on the cost.
If this continues, we would probably have to restrict deliveries and lessen the amount of deliveries we would do per week and per area, or consider a charge or levy to customers, both something we don't want to do.
Food industry groups are urging government to use this fuel crisis as a catalyst to expedite a national food security strategy to future-proof against supply shocks.
The Australian food sector warned the government 4 years ago on the need for a national food security strategy. And here we are in 2026 and nothing.
As the government taps its fuel reserves, Federal Energy Minister Chris Bowen says supplies are arriving as planned.
Our refineries continue to work, and indeed the supply of petrol has been secure and has been just as expected. But what we have seen is real and unacceptable shortages in rural and regional areas in particular.
Prices are out of control, aren't they? How much higher are they going to go?
I'm close to retirement, but if it keeps going this way, I'll have to keep working just to pay for fuel.
What we now need to make sure is where there has been gouging, that the ACCC
does act.
The National Consumer Watchdog says service stations found price gouging face massive fines. Rhiannon Shine, ABC News.
Damage caused by widespread flooding across the Northern Territory is still being revealed as flood levels recede in some devastated regions but continue to rise above historic levels along the Daly River. In the Daly River community of Nauru, all homes and buildings have been submerged, with the river hitting its highest levels on record as it continues to rise. In the small community of Darwin River and in Katherine, attention is now turning to the lengthy clean-up. Relief payments and donations have started flowing to the residents this weekend. The Northern Territory Government has asked for Defence Force assistance for recovery efforts. In Melbourne, thousands have gathered for a vigil at the train station where 22-year-old Aidan Becker was allegedly murdered last weekend after he stepped in to defend a schoolboy. Becker's mother spoke about her family's pain as she remembered her son and thanked the community.
Raw emotion from a mother struggling to process her grief.
We stand here tonight as a family broken.
Thousands gathered at Mernda train station last night to remember Aidan Becker, who was fatally stabbed at the station last week.
I don't know how we heal, and I don't know what tomorrow looks like.
Tonight we stand here with broken hearts. Aidan was someone's son, someone's friend, someone who was deeply loved.
The 22-year-old had stepped in to help a 14-year-old boy who had allegedly been set upon by a group of teenagers before they turned on him. Aidan was treated at the scene but died of his injuries. 4 teenagers have been charged over the alleged stabbing.
In a moment when someone vulnerable needed help, Aidan stepped forward. That instinct to protect, to stand up for someone else, speaks volumes about who he was.
But I know that my beautiful boy would have done it all again in a heartbeat. Because that's the boy he was.
While the community last night showed up in force to wrap their arms around the Becker family, local businesses have also been fundraising as a way of showing their support. This Doreen Cafe is donating part proceeds to the family.
Of course, we want to just do a little, and that's what we decided to do.
Aidan Becker's mother also expressing gratitude to a passerby who stayed with her son until the end.
I thank you, Anthony, for telling my boy his family loved him, because those would have been the last words he heard.
Kindness amongst the horror. Michaela Ortolin, ABC News, Mernda.
Back home now, and the number of young people being held at the Ashley Youth Detention Centre is rising. Newly released data shows an average of 19 young people were kept in the facility each day in the final quarter of last year. That's up from 16 during the same time in 2024 and close to the decade high of 21 from June 2024. A state government spokesperson says detainee numbers fluctuate day to day and efforts are being made to divert young people from the youth justice system. The centre was supposed to be shut by the end of 2024 but isn't expected to be replaced now until 2028.
We know that it's not good for them in there. The Commission of Inquiry made it very clear that the facility wasn't safe for young people and that the facility should be closed.
Now to a story of hope. And scientists say the recovery of wetlands on Tasmania's far northwest coast is astonishing. Decades ago, an invasive weed called ricegrass took hold there, threatening birds and fish that inhabit the area, as well as the local oyster industry. A local environment group with support from farmers has been working to eradicate the ricegrass.
Every year during the peak season, oyster farmers stop harvesting these waters in Smithton for 2 weeks.
We could harvest up to 18 to 20,000 dozen a week, so there could be lost opportunity of nearly $500,000 worth of sales.
The temporary pause is to protect oysters from nearby herbicide spraying to eradicate an invasive weed. Despite the financial hit, the oyster grower is entirely on board.
And we looked at what had happened in other estuaries for my own business to survive, we needed to make sure that the environment was looked after.
Circular Head hosts Tasmania's largest coastal wetlands. In summer, thousands of shorebirds feed here, some travelling from as far as Alaska or Siberia. But some of these estuaries and waterways have been completely taken over by ricegrass, an invasive weed introduced to Tasmania in the 1930s.
All of these little sheltered bays were full of ricegrass, which is a bright green, wavy grass up to your knee height.
About 15 years ago, the local land care group, backed by industry, set itself the lofty goal of ridding it from salt marsh communities across a 120-kilometre coastline. Without intervention, the weed would have further choked habitat and feeding grounds, encroached on oyster farms, and impacted water flowing in and out of Duck Bay.
Oh, eventually it would have closed our farms down.
Each year, volunteers, with help from contractors, shower swathes of grass with herbicide.
So it kills pasture grass and it kills rice grass, but it doesn't kill the salt marsh plants. So as we get rid of the rice grass, the salt marsh plants start to recover on their own.
They work on foot, quad bike and ute. And more recently, they've used a drone.
You've got the river and you've got mud and stuff, so flying over the top of that is a lot easier than trying to hike through it.
Scientists say the recovery has been remarkable. Vegetation has bounced back, fish are abundant, and the number of species has more than doubled.
The first year with the rice grass, I think we caught 2 fish. After the rice grass was removed, native salt marshes come back, and we went back and did the fishing. And we were, in one net we had about 200 mullets, and I've never seen anything like that in terms of the recovery.
Pending weather and funding, Landcare hopes to attack the remaining ricegrass meadows in the next 2 years. After that, they're looking at 10 years of maintenance, using less and less herbicide as they go.
We're incredibly proud, our whole group. This is the most important environmental thing we will ever do in our lives.
Beck Pridham, ABC News, Smithton.
The chairman of a major Australian newspaper group has been stood down after he was charged with assaulting a woman. Anthony Catalano is the co-owner of Australian Community Media and previously led property listing site Domain. Last night he faced the Melbourne Magistrates Court, where police alleged he dragged a woman through an apartment and swung a clothes iron at her head. He's been charged with assault, false imprisonment and making threats to kill. The court heard the woman was taken to hospital with a fractured tailbone. Mr Catalano was granted bail last night and is due back in court in May. He has been placed on an immediate leave of absence. US President's immigration enforcement crackdown continues to sweep up migrants across the United States. The administration claims it's only arresting the worst of the worst, but an increasing number of immigrants with no criminal history are being caught up in the operations. North America correspondent Rachel Clayton has this special report from Boston.
So this is the bracelet that I got gifted.
A scrap of tinfoil folded into a bracelet. It's all Marcelo Gomes de Silva has left of the stranger who helped him survive immigration detention.
He just teared it and he said, "Here, take this, take care of it."
Last year, the high school student was arrested by immigration agents on his way to volleyball practice in Milford, just outside Boston, Massachusetts.
I saw that there was a car behind me and I didn't really think anything of it. And once I got to my second friend's house, I noticed that there was like a couple more. And I told him, I was like, "Hey, I think we're being followed because there's like a bunch of cars behind us."
He was detained for 6 days. US officials say they were looking for Marcelo's father, who owned the car he was driving. They took Marcelo instead.
All the inmates in there were like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 18." And they were like, "What?" Like they took an 18-year-old.
He's lived in America since he was 7, but he's not a citizen, and his visa had expired. To get him out, his lawyer filed a habeas corpus petition, which forces the government to justify why someone needs to be held in detention.
We have to file them as soon as we find out the person is detained.
In the past, lawyers rarely needed them. But last year, the Trump administration banned immigration judges from granting bail to anyone who entered America illegally. In the first 6 months of President Trump's second term, around 50 habeas corpus petitions were filed each week. By last month, that number exploded to more than 2,000 a week. Since October, courts have found more than 4,000 immigrants were detained illegally.
This facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet.
We are going after murderers and rapists and traffickers and drug dealers and getting them off the streets.
A majority of the people that are detained have no criminal history and no basis for their detention.
Ms. Burgess says time is crucial.
If we don't file the habeas, it makes it so that they can be transferred out of state at ICE's whim. And ICE kind of dictates and moves people around.
The surge in petitions reflects a growing tension between President Trump's immigration enforcement operation and the protections embedded in the US Constitution. From here in Massachusetts to California, Florida and Texas, courts are inundated with cases challenging whether the rule of law is being followed.
Release Marcelo, girls, now!
Marcelo was released after an uproar from his community.
Nobody should be in here. Like, most people down there are all workers. They all got caught going to work.
Our community, since that day, it just feels a lot better. It feels like everyone's a lot closer, working together a lot more.
As a bedrock of America's legal system continues to be tested. Rachel Clayton, ABC News, Boston.
To sport now, and the Matildas say they're primed to go all the way and win the Women's Asian Cup after a fighting 2-1 win over North Korea in the quarterfinals. The Australians produced a gritty defensive effort in Perth to secure a place in the semis and qualify for next year's World Cup in Brazil.
The Aussies are away!
2 moments of individual brilliance were enough to continue the Matildas' Asian Cup charge.
What games like this do, they make you believe. That's what this team's needed from day one, just to believe that they are a world-class team.
The North Koreans dominated the game in all facets. They dictated the pace, overpowered the midfield and bombarded goalkeeper Mackenzie Arnold, eventually getting the reward midway through the second half.
Well, it's a very clinical finish.
But somehow, some way, the Matildas resisted an equaliser.
North Korea were relentless. They kept going at that same pace for 90 minutes. I don't know how they do it.
Australia's only 2 shots on target were the decisive blows. Kennedy's 9th-minute strike was her 5th in 4 games. And Sam Kerr claimed the second soon after half-time, continuing her impressive return from her near 2-year ACL recovery.
The local hero!
It's more a mental game now than anything, but goals like tonight and wins like tonight really help my confidence.
It wasn't a performance out of the Montemuro playbook, but it's only the bigger picture that matters.
We are ready for anything that comes at us, so that game's just motivation to keep going, and everyone's ready to win this. We want to get a medal.
China was denied a first-half goal against Chinese Taipei due to a handball, and the defending champions had to wait until extra time to secure their clash with Australia at Perth Stadium on Tuesday night. Amanda Shalala, ABC News.
The Western Bulldogs have continued their perfect start to the AFL season, thrashing the GWS Giants by 81 points. The usual suspects were up to their old tricks, with Marcus Bontempelli leading a masterclass, collecting 33 disposals to complement 3 goals, while Aaron Norton lit up the forward line.
The Bulldogs were in full flight.
Norton! The astronaut got up there.
The Dogs' transition game was all class.
Just now in game 50. They're not taking that one back.
And they packed a 1-2 punch.
Norton turns, goes, goal square, Bontempelli.
Marcus Bontempelli's 3rd goal pushed the margin to 38 points at half-time, and an Adam Kingsley spray was seemingly inevitable. But the Dogs just never let go of control.
Got those big long arms, they're like bolty sticks.
16 majors to 5 through the final 3 quarters.
Darcy, goal square, they are feasting the Dogs.
55-50, the inside 50 count in favour of the Bulldogs. But with Aaron Norton fired up forward, the scoreboard told a very different story.
Could be in for his biggest season yet.
Stephen Canelio gave GWS fans something sweet late.
The dance step was delightful. There's one for the highlight reel.
But it wouldn't outshine the courageous captain, whose brilliant performance led a perfect Bulldogs outfit.
Something in the way he moves.
Fremantle was in Geelong and bouncing into season 2026.
Yes, he can. Oh, brilliant from O'Driscoll.
74 points in the first half, the Dockers' highest first half score under Justin Longmuir.
To Murphy Reid, who only has happy memories of this place, and he's kicked another goal.
But when Cats forward Shannon Neal grabbed hold of the match,
Neil didn't need to pick it up. He's got 4.
Freo's 22-point lead evaporated before their eyes.
It's taken more than 3/4 for the Cats to hit the front.
Geelong pulling off an almighty comeback, home by 10 points.
The character of the Cats.
Alexia Pesce, ABC News.
The Devils are confident big-name players will make their way to Tasmania despite the Macquarie Point Stadium still being 5 years away. Players, staff and sponsors gathered in Hobart this evening for the club's official VFL season launch ahead of its return to the men's competition next week. The women's team played an intra-club match this afternoon but won't make their VFL debut until May. Club Chief Executive Brendan Gale says the Devils won't have any trouble attracting stars to the state ahead of the AFL entry in 2028. He says he wasn't surprised by the recent confirmation that Macquarie Point Stadium wouldn't be ready for matches until 2031, but he says he's hopeful it could be ready sooner.
Cautiously hopeful, but probably thinking it was probably unlikely. You know, it's been confirmed, that's fine. It's of no surprise to us. I can understand why other people may have been surprised, but our focus is on Saturday, the 21st of March at North Hobart Oval.
To a spectacular sunrise in our nation's capital. Dozens of hot air balloons took to the skies over Lake Burley Griffin in Canberra this morning, and thousands gathered to watch the first day of the annual event.
Canberra's sky lit up in colour this morning as hot air balloons took to the sky. The balloons lifted off at dawn before flying over Lake Burley Griffin. The event drew thousands of people from the capital and beyond, with families rugging up against the early chill to watch the spectacle. Others kayaked for views from the water.
It's beautiful. It's lovely getting up early in the morning and super exciting that they took off.
It's a great time to come to Canberra. I tell people all the time, this is the time to come.
This year's feature balloon is Finley the Turtle, which received big cheers from the crowd as it took off. The balloon and its pilot travelled from the UK to raise awareness about turtle conservation efforts.
There's not many places in the UK that we can take a balloon over such a big lake like this, so hopefully we're going to get some nice pictures and some nice videos of the balloon going across.
He says he hopes Finley brightened people's morning.
Just giving joy and smiles to everybody. I mean, there's lots of crazy things going on in the world at the moment, so if we can just give a bit of joy and happiness to everybody by seeing Finley smile across Australia, then, you know, that's job done for us.
The Balloon Spectacular is Australia's longest running hot air ballooning festival and will continue for the next 9 days. Caitlin Maloney, ABC News, Canberra.
And to our weather now, Evan Roberts, thank you for sending in this glorious snap taken at Snug Beach this morning, looking east. Spectacular. The tops today, 25 in Launceston and Burnie and 25.7 in Fingal. To the satellite picture, a ridge of high pressure is lingering over the state. A weak trough is expected on Sunday. A weak cold front's forecast across the state Tuesday before another high pressure returns. It'll be warm across the country tomorrow with 27 in Sydney and Melbourne. For Tasmania, it'll be sunny across most of the state, just a few isolated showers in the southwest. In the northwest, particularly partly cloudy, with 23 in Burnie and Devonport, 26 in Launceston and fine along the east coast with 22 for Swansea. Around Hobart, partly cloudy, 22 in Huonville and 23 in Richmond. The sun's up at 7:05. The UV will be high. On coastal waters, westerly to northerly winds ranging from 15 to 25 knots on northern and southern coastal waters. West to southwesterly 5 to 15 knots about central, eastern and western waters with afternoon inshore sea breezes. Looking to Monday, isolated light showers about the north and west, fine in the southeast. Those showers could extend statewide Tuesday afternoon before clearing. And the extended outlook now, looking great for Launceston. A chance of showers in Hobart later in the week. And that is the news to now. Thanks for your company. See you tomorrow night.
Rumour is you and your wife are cops.
In another life.
Check